Hi guys, and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. Today it's the holidays, so you're going to see this probably after the holidays, but we're going to go to a gathering tomorrow and we're going to bring a dessert. And my husband has been asking me for a sweet potato pie. I've never ever made one for him that I can recall, like ever, but he's like, we've never had a sweet potato pie, and I don't know why you never make me a sweet potato pie. So today we're going to be making sweet potato pie with Gingersnap pecan crust from Lazarus Lynch's Son of a Southern Chef. It's not sort of a standard pie because it's going to be in this 9x13 casserole type dish, which is fine, which is good because it will feed more people than a standard pie. And so it'll be square, whatever. I've already got sweet potatoes baking in the oven. It's very much like the sweet potatoes in their jackets, which I'll link up here, that we've made from Deep Run Roots. It's just sweet potatoes. Nothing done to them except poke them so they don't explode. And we're just cooking them until they're tender. So that's going to be done soon-ish. But we're going to go ahead and make the crust, which is, I have Gingersnaps here, Gingersnap cookies that I bought. And he has a number of cookies that make a certain number of crumbs. I'm hoping that the number of cookies is sufficient because that's what I did. I counted out cookies. So we are going to pulse this until they are basically crumbs. I got a little annoyed there. We went with not pulsing. And they're not entirely crumbs yet, but we're going to add more stuff and process it some more. So these are optional. The pecans are optional, but we love them, and so we're definitely adding them in. We have some sugar, a little extra sugar. And let me get, especially I've got some, nope, not this yet, sorry. And now I'm going to put a little bit of cinnamon. I'm going to measure it because why not? There we go. And we're going to pulse this together until, the pecans are all sort of crumbly. And now, to bind it all together, we're adding some melted butter. I've chosen unsalted. He does say unsalted, so there we go. Hey, I chose correctly. Pulse again until combined. There we go. It starts to come together a little bit, which is what you want. Now, I'm just going to dump it into this 9x13 dish. And now I'm just going to spread this out with the spatula so it's relatively even. And then I'm going to use my hands to sort of pat it down to make a crust, kind of like a graham cracker crust, except ginger snaps. He does not say that you need to put it up the sides at all. It will go, up the sides somewhat, but you want it to be sort of a cohesive crust. Now that's all ready. My sweet potatoes are roasting at 400 degrees, but when they are done, I'm going to turn it down to 375. I'm going to bake this at 375 for, he says 12 to 15 minutes until it's set, just to sort of make it the crust. And that's it for the crust. When it's all done baking and I've taken my sweet potatoes out and peeled them, we will take care of the filling, which means I'm going to have to wash food processor because we're going to be making it in the food processor. So I'll be washing that, and as soon as the potatoes are cool enough, I will peel them and we'll be back to show you how to make the filling. All right, so my potatoes are cool enough to handle. Dishwasher's done. I'm going to be peeling them and putting them in here. Now, he said to use large ones, so these are not all very large, so I'm using a few more than he says in his recipe, but I think it'll be fine. So I'm just going to be peeling these. You'll probably see this on fast forward. The rest of the melted butter in the recipe, which is not super melted right now, but it was melted. Potatoes are warm enough that I'm not too worried about that, though. Here we go. And then we have some brown sugar and some granulated sugar. Now I'm going to process it until it's smooth. I'm going to scrape stuff down so it all gets mixed together. Smooth enough for me. Now I need to add some vanilla. Quite a lot of vanilla. I have in here some cinnamon, some freshly grated nutmeg, and some fine sea salt, which I'm going to need to use this to get out. And in here, some freshly grated ginger, so fresh ginger. I keep mine in the freezer. And so it starts out looking like a lot more than it looks like now, but I didn't measure it. But it's probably close. And then the last thing is a little bit of heavy cream. Oh wait, it's not the last thing. I forgot. Eggs. Which are supposed to be at room temperature. Mine are now, but I took them out. Had to do the same trick. Took them out, put them in some warm water. And we're going to process it until, we're going to blend it until well combined. And we're going to scrape down the sides again. And blend it until thick and smooth, about 2 minutes. So, 2 minutes. I'm going to call that done. Pretty thick, pretty smooth, in my opinion. And now we're going to pour it into our crust. This is what it looks like out of the oven. Not a whole lot different. It's a lot, but it's a large for a pie. Okay, so now all I need to do is smooth it, spread it. Go. And I've reduced the heat in the oven to 350, and we're going to bake it until the center is set and the pie is firm, about an hour and 10 minutes. So I'll take a picture of it when it's done and I'll let you know how long it takes for me. I'm going to probably check it at about an hour, but I think I'll just go sit down for an hour. That's great. In the morning, since we're going to let this cool completely, I'm just going to let it cool overnight. And in the morning, we're going to make a topping. So we'll see you in the morning. The last step for our sweet potato pie is to make the topping. So it's just a whipped cream, but it's flavored. So I've got some heavy cream, which the entire world is using right now. I'm lucky I had some. I actually had it's Christmas Eve and I went out to Target first thing this morning and they did not have any more. Luckily I had plenty for this recipe. We need some confectioner sugar sifted. So it's hard to measure this and be absolutely sure what you're doing, like how much, because it packs, but I'm not going to worry too much. It'll be very sweet or it'll be less sweet, whatever. Close this up so it can go all over the place. So I'm going to sift this so there are no lumps, even though we are about to whir it up. It's a lot easier sometimes to get the lumps out with a spoon. I happen to have this one. There we go. And we're going to make this sort of a maple syrup whipped cream. I've got this bourbon barrel aged maple syrup that I've had around, not this particular jar, but I've been keeping around since we used it for one of the Pools recipes. I'll try to remember to link that up there. There we go. That's just a little more sugar and a little bit of flavor. And now I'm just going to I'm going to use a handheld mixer because it's easier, in my opinion, to get all of it without my stand mixer tends to leave around the edges a bit that's not as whipped as the stuff in the middle. So we're going for until it holds peaks. So really up to you. I'm going to go for a little bit stiffer peaks because we're transporting it with us in a container. So we want it to last a little bit longer. I almost tried to get these all. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to pack it up and we're going to go serve. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make sweet potato pie with Gingersnap pecan crust. Now, I'm not a huge sweet potato pie fan. I'm not even a big pumpkin pie fan, but I'll eat it. This was delicious. If you like pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie is very similar. The flavorings in this are very similar. I like a cookie crust because those are so much easier than pastry. And I think the flavors of the Gingersnap and the pecans really complement the sweet potato pie. I ended up cooking mine for, I think, the whole hour and 10 minutes, and that was pretty much perfect to get it done the way I liked it. The texture was really great, and I think that's probably because you use the food processor that helped any sort of stringiness you might sometimes get from sweet potatoes. And I also like roasting the sweet potatoes first instead of boiling them like some recipes would have you do, because then you don't get as much water introduced into the recipe because it just kind of stays in its own juices and it doesn't absorb water while you're boiling it. So I like all of that about this recipe. I would certainly make this again if I were making another sweet potato pie. And it feeds a lot of people. So because it's a 9 by 13, you could feed a crowd with this. You could also cut them into like bar shapes, and that would be sort of an interesting take on a pie. But yeah, I would certainly make this again. And if you decide to make it, let me know in the comments down below what you think. And if you are a sweet potato fan, how this compares to your favorite recipe. So if you enjoyed watching me make this, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and come back and watch me make something else next week.